You have your right. Thank
If
you.
I can figure this out,
Finally.
so I promise you will have great shows.
Okay,
We'll have a lot
great,
of
great.
things.
I'm sure we're gonna be. It's going to be a great show. Hello, everyone. Let's
Yes.
let's put the volume down. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bridges TV. Happy Saturday, happy weekend. Today with me, Osama Dagdag, Islamic apologist, Islamic researcher, and professional Islamic study, and also show the truth about Islam to Americans and the West and the whole planet. So this time we're going to do it in English, and we need to put the light on women in Islam, how women treated in Islam, and we're going to support whatever we say with the Quranic text, Hadith, and Sunnah. Hadith and Sunnah is the biography of Muhammad, what Muhammad did at that time, how he treated his women, his children, I mean, not his children, his child bride, and his 63 wives, and what he told Muslims how to treat their women. Lately, in the West, we've been hearing the lies of Muslim imams and Islamic imams telling the West that liberating women started at the 7th century by a guy, a Bedouin guy called Muhammad. Muhammad, the self-proclaimed prophet of Islam, liberated women. So we're going to see how Muhammad liberated women, not the West or America, Europe or Canada. Yes. So, Osama Daktak, thank you for being with me on the hard time we have with the technical issues. First, tell
Thank
our
you.
viewers, Osama Daktak, what you study and why we listening to you. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Well, Brother Saul, first of all, thank you for your patience and your kindness to help me to get into this system. You know what? It will take us another 3 times, maybe four, and then I'll figure it out, and everything will be fine after that. But for now, praise God, we have this wonderful next hour or so to talk about women in Islam. And myself, I was born in Egypt, grew up in Egypt. I study Islam all the years of my life until even college. I studied a couple of years Sharia Islamic law in a social institute in Alexandria. And that was actually what opened my eyes. I've been studying about Islam in school, but what they teach about Islam in school, just few verses from the Quran here and there, saying of Muhammad, which is called the Hadith here and there. But when I went to college, like most Muslim students, we were shocked to learn about Sharia and what the Quran teach about even the topic of women, because that was 2 years of study. It's about women and Sharia, which is literally a shocking news, as we're going to see today. I studied in America. I came to America a good 27 years ago, 28 years ago, 1991 when I came to America, and I studied a couple colleges degrees. I have my bachelor's degree in Christian education from New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, and also I have a master's degree in myth theology. Now, this topic which we're going to be talking about here today, actually, I put together when I was in New Orleans while I was studying. A friend of mine, he said, Usama, there is the Muslims have this Muslim Christian dialogue. And I said, Muslim Christian dialogue. That's interesting. So he said, yes, will you come with me today to hear the Muslims are be speaking in the University of New Orleans? So I said, sure. We went there. A lady by the name Dr. Sahar, and her daddy is a Kuwaiti, rich oil man, of course, and her mama is a white American, and she's dressed in hijab, and she spoke for almost 45 minutes about Islam. And I know you're gonna like to hear this story because in the end of it, they have question answer. So I raised my hand with sincere heart, and she said yes down there. And would they have cameras, and camera zoomed on me to ask to have my chance to ask my question? And I said, Dr. Sahar, where did you come up with this Islam? Is this what you think what Islam is, or that is the real teaching of Islam? Because for 45 minutes, she told me everything any woman would love to hear about a religion. I mean, there's nothing good you could not imagine a woman can try to accomplish in her life, except that Dr. Sahar shared with us from that cult, the cult of Islam. And I told her, before me, there was a young lady, Brother Saul, who raised her hand and she stood up and asked a question. And she said, Dr. Sahar, How can I become a Muslim? She wanted to be a Muslim so badly. And I said, I'm
Well,
not
so happy for
surprised.
her. I always encounter this, and I know what's going to happen because many
Yeah.
times I go to churches when they do the Islam thing and they promote Islam, and I ask the same question to the speaker: can you support your talk with Quranic
With verses in
verses
the Quran.
or
Yeah.
hadith? I
So,
said,
so
no,
anyway,
it's you know, because they don't
it's
support it.
propaganda. It's
So go ahead,
propaganda. So
continue.
anyway, yeah. So anyway, so here I am. I told her, if I am a woman and I heard what you just said, I would love to leave whatever I believe in to become a Muslim. So anyway, to make the long story short, I opened the Quran and I quoted, I believe, 4 or 5 verses on 4 or 5 topics she talked about, and they were exactly the opposite, Brother Saul. They were lying to these people. Now, here is what the opening statement I would like to share with our audience, which is given by Joseph Goebbels, who is a propaganda minister under Adolf Hitler. He said, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The truth is the mortal enemy of the lie. This is exactly what's happening in America. And before we even get to our study today, Brother Saul, I have to tell those who are watching us, we are not anti-Muslim ladies. We're not anti-Muslim people. We are anti-Islam, the ideologies, the commands of Allah, and the commands of Muhammad, as we're going to see it in our study today. And if there is some Muslim lady out there who is blessed because she has an ignorant husband who does not know anything about Islam, and that husband loved her and treated her with respect as any woman ought to be, that does not change the reality that Islam is an evil cult, especially when it comes to the topic of women, as well as any other topic. So if you are a Muslim lady and you're watching us right now, and your husband does not treat you the way as Allah taught him or Muhammad ordered him to treat you, well, be thankful. But that does not give you the excuse to continue to be in Islam, because simply you are in a savage cult. And if that cult will continue to spread, perhaps your children or your grandchildren will bring the destruction to America and to the world, because maybe they will follow the teaching of Islam. So this is just to start. What you hear from the Muslim in America or in the West is a lie. Why? Because they cannot support it with the teaching of Islam. If it is in the Quran, as I always say, so it is Islam. If it is in the teaching of Muhammad in the Hadith, it is Islam. If it is in the Sunnah, Muhammad used to practice it and live it, it is Islam. Otherwise, that hogwash does not fit with America. Because I'm sorry, don't tell me my husband loved me and he never beat me, he never did this or that to me, therefore Islam is good. No, Islam is evil, and just be thankful that your husband does not know Islam yet. Otherwise, you will be like the rest of the female of the world. So this is just our introduction. Go ahead. You can ask me any question. I'll do my best to answer. If not,
It's great to hear that. What I want to tell our viewers, you can't get it better. Both
hey,
born
Brother
in
Saul,
the Middle East, both me and Osama, born in the Middle East. He came from Christian background. I came from non-believing background. But we both, if you know the fact, when Islam take over, they force you to study Islam. In the school, mosques, every corner, wherever you do, you must encounter Islam in your life every single day. Plus the schools of, as I said, controlled by Islamic Sharia law and Islamic regimes. So we have a great study about Islam. And also what we did, me and Osama, we did our homework after 9/11. That's exactly what happened with me. I was like, I want to dig deeper and deeper. Why the hell these, sorry for the word hell, why the heck are these people doing this, and why they killing innocents? Because I left Middle East when I was much younger. I couldn't understand why they're doing this. So I started digging and digging in the Quran, and also it helped me because I know how to read and understand Arabic well. But also that's not excuse, because you can do the same in English. So there we found that literally we found the truth. Whatever Osama gonna say, I can support it, and I can say he is lying. But because I am a friend with Osama, one of his biggest fan and followers, whatever he say about Islam, 110% truth. So now let's go here. Let's say when President Trump came to power, we saw the rise of Islamic liberation, who Obama brought to the nation. And they, we all heard about Linda Sarsour, the hijabi jihadi Linda Sarsour, and she's putting hijabs on men and women in America with the American flag, the symbol of freedom and liberty. She used it for, the symbol of oppression, Islamic oppression, to own Americans. But naively, they took it without understanding the truth about it. Now, let's go first with the Quran. What is there that are they command in the Quran to respect, glorify women?
Well, I'm glad that you want to start with the Quran, and I have a few of the verses I'd like to share. First of all, I'd like to quote for our wonderful audience what is written in Quran chapter 33 and verse 21. 33:21, which said, "Indeed, there was in the apostle of Allah a noble example for you, for him who was hoping in Allah and in the last day, and remember Allah much." This is a very important verse. Why? Because when I say Muhammad is a noble example for every Muslim man to follow, that's exactly what Allah said. So as we study the life of Muhammad, the sunnah of Muhammad, the hadith, the saying of Muhammad, and what Allah said in the Quran about women, this is the final answer, what Islam is and what Islam is not. I'm not gonna, this is a long presentation. We're gonna do as best as we can to cover it in an hour. So we talk about the wives of Muhammad. Yes, Muhammad had one wife by the name Khadija. And she is actually the one who made him a prophet. We can talk about that in another study in the future. But for now, we know that as long Muhammad as was married to her, she was the boss. She was the man of the house. In simple word, he was working for her for years. She was his boss, which, by the way, goes against the propaganda which Muslims teach in the West, that Islam liberate women and women is this and woman is that. No, Islam enslaved women, because before Islam, before Muhammad claimed to be a prophet at the age of 40, he used to work for a lady, and that lady hired him and many other men like him. She liked him, she proposed to him, he accepted her proposition, and she married him. He did not marry her, she married him. Okay, now she was married to him, and he did not have a second wife, because she has some Christian background and she is the boss. She will not allow him to have another wife. Now, after before Khadija died, Muhammad claimed to be a prophet, and after Khadija died, now he had a wife by the name Sauda bint Zim'an, a black woman, unattractive, and some say this or that about her. We're not going to get into these details, but he married her for one reason. What was the reason, Brother Saul? To babysit his other wife for him. Who is the next wife? Her name is Aisha. We're going to learn about Aisha in our study today. She was 6 years old, or we can say between 5 and 6, because every Islamic year is actually a year minus a month, a minus 24, 23 days. So 6 years minus 6 months, that's 5.5 years. But that's okay. Let's say 6 years. And Muhammad at the time, he was 51 years old. Now, when Aisha turned 9, Muhammad was able to consummate his marriage to her, have sexual relationship with her, and that's when he decided to go ahead and get rid of Sauda. He no longer needs her as a wife, because now Aisha is grown up child, 9 years old, or we can say 8 years plus few months, maybe a month or two, and now he can have her with him all the time, have sex with her, so he does not need somebody to babysit his baby wife. And in that case, Sauda bint Zim'an begged him, "Oh, Apostle of Allah, I want to be one of your wives in the day of the resurrection. Please don't divorce me." And by the way, Muhammad had many other wives during these early years after Khadija died. So she said, "I will give my night to your favorite wife, Aisha," which means Muhammad now at this time, he have 9 wives. So he will go to each one of his wives one night. But when it comes to Sauda's night, to sleep with, to be with her, no, she will give up that night for Aisha, because she told Muhammad, "I do not have the desire of women for need for sexual relationships."
Also, sorry to cut you off, I got to add to this. From 6 to 9, he did not sit quiet. He practiced some other things with her sexually without intercourse. Sure. What I heard, this is well documented in Islamic books, he was tying a 6 years old girl, because she cannot take intercourse. So he was tying her for 3 years. And also give example what kind of companion Muhammad had. Just talking to any father, imagine yourself giving your 6 years old daughter to 51 years old man. What kind of father is that? Which is Abu Bakr, the first caliph, the successor of Muhammad, the first caliph, the rightly guided caliph.
The top best leader
What kind
after
of
Muhammad.
community and companions the Prophet of Islam had? Continue, please. Sorry to cut you off.
Sure, sure. It's a very sad story. Well, during these 3 years, he did not have intercourse with her. He was just touching her from outside to have his feelings, to have his orgasm. And now, after that, Muhammad fell in love with another daughter-in-law of Muhammad. She actually was married to his adopted son by the name Zainab bint Jahsh, and you can read about that in Quran chapter 33, verses 37 and 38. And you can read the interpretation of Muslim scholars. That is when Muhammad saw her nudity, and she was white and she was beautiful, one of the best beautiful young lady in Quraysh, and Muhammad lusted after her. They say love her. I'm sorry, that's not love. When a man look at his own adopted son's wife and say, he said, Subhana muqallib al-qulub, how great Allah who changed my heart. Worthy, in simple words, I don't love you.
Because you mentioned twice, I just want to tell our viewers, also especially Westerners, because you mentioned black twice, and I want to add to this, because because if you're born in Middle East, you understand we mentioned black, because Islam hates blacks, period, completely, and we're going to have episode about this, Islam and blacks. Why Osama mentioned black girl or black guy or white girl, because this is their favorite, and also that documented in Islam. And Muhammad used to encourage his follower to go invade white villages in the Roman Empire at that time to get the white girls.
Sure.
So it's what he didn't mention it for race thing. It just, I want to add to this also because I'm a darker skinned guy and he's dark too. So
do I.
We want to mention this because it has Islamic background. Thank you. Just want to bring this over because a lot of people might think, why did he mention black or white girl? What's the difference?
Well, Brother Saul, in simple words, black is a curse of Allah on mankind. That's why Muslims don't like black. And this go all the way back to Noah, as Muhammad invented a story, and so is his scholars, that one of Noah's son by the name Canaan, which is obviously wrong name because in the Bible Canaan is Ham's son. It's his Ham grandson. So Noah's grandson, Ham's son, and he was born after the flood. He was not in the ark, Noah's ark period. But in the stories of Islam, that son of Noah, who's actually his grandson, had sex with his wife inside the ark, Noah's ark. And that's why Allah cursed him and caused his baby to be born black. And that's why Allah made all the slaves out of the black. So black in Islam is slavery, and black in Islam is hated because it's the curse of Allah on that bad son of Noah who had sex with his wife inside the ark. It's nonsense. It's stupidity.
Definitely, and till now, by the way, that was 2,000 years ago, whatever. But till now, they don't call blacks in Middle East or Islamic country black.
Call them abid.
They call abid. It's word
which is slave.
Like slaves. Word and Negroes. If you want to mention the N-word Negro, abid or abid is way worse to insult people of their color. So I just want to clarify this. Go ahead, Usama.
Sure. We don't want to chase rabbit here, Brother Saul. This study will go for 6 hours, but that's okay. It's a very important point, and I'm glad you caught my attention to it. Now, I'm going to read you just a couple of verses, Quran chapter 33, verse 37, 38, so that you know that the story about Muhammad having sexual relationship or marrying his adopted son's wife, it is in the Quran. We're not making this up. Quran 33, 37, it says, and when you, that is Muhammad, said to Zaid, that is between soft bracket, that's his adopted son, whom Allah had graced on, and you graced on. Allah has graced on by Islam, and Muhammad graced on by adopting him. Keep your wife to yourself and fear Allah. And you did hide in yourself what Allah would reveal. and you feared the people, and Allah is more worthy to be feared. Why is that verse? Because Muhammad was afraid what people would think of him. These are the non holy one. Muhammad is the holy one now. Remember, he is a noble example. The people will say he took his own adopted son wife to sleep with. What kind of prophet is that? So that's why he was afraid of the people. But listen to the rest of the verse. So when Zayd had satisfied his desire from her, that means when Zayd divorced her, we, Allah Almighty speaking here, we married her to you, that it would not be a shame on the believers to marry the wives of their sons. Shame on Allah, shame on Muhammad, and shame on any Muslim who believe in that. Verse 38 said, there was no shame on the prophet where Allah had ordained for him. The custom of Allah with those who have gone before, and the command of Allah was predetermined decree. No, this is hogwash, propaganda, lie of Allah in the Quran. Why? Because nobody before Muhammad ever taught that a man take his own adopted son's wife to be his own wife. As a matter of fact, Muslims who claim to believe in Moses and in the Torah, they read the book of Deuteronomy, they would find out for themselves that it is forbidden for a man to sleep with his daughter-in-law or his daughter or his mother or his daddy's mother. I mean, this is clear teaching in book of Deuteronomy about whom you sleep with, whom you do not sleep with. So Muhammad lived in disobedience to the commands of God, the God of the Bible, concerning marry your own daughter or adopted son, daughter, or even your neighbor daughter. Biblically, you're not supposed to be married to your neighbor daughter because you fall in lust with. It's so ridiculous.
But anyway, Muslims claim also because in Arabs at that time, they were more noble and they're mannerful. They don't marry their daughter-in-law. They don't marry that. So Muhammad used Allah and his Quran to excuse just to finish his lust with his daughter-in-law.
Sure. Yes. Saw she was beautiful. Saw she was white. Saw she was attractive. Saw she was young. I mean, I can't help but for Muhammad, who did not have another woman to sleep with. But that show you what kind of noble example Muhammad was, that even the idol worshippers will not do that. The people worship a rock and a piece of wood and a piece of steel will not have their own daughter-in-law. Even if they were adopted sons' wives, they will not sleep with them, period. People have more respect. That's why Allah said, there's no shame on Muhammad. No, there is shame on Muhammad, and the shame go on Allah first before Muhammad, to allow him to live in disobedience to the teaching of the Bible. But let's move on to the next very important point. As Muslims always teach in America, that Islam allow all Muslims to seek knowledge from cradle to grave, from every source possible. The Quran, boys and girls, allow Muslim ladies to be educated and blah, 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 blah. Let's listen to what Muhammad said in the hadith. In Ulum al-Din and Kunuz al-Ulum, we read the following hadith. Listen carefully, my dear friends. Muhammad said, do not let women into all the rooms. So in your own homes, if you have 3-4 rooms in the homes, don't give women freedom to just go around from one room to another. Don't do that. But why? Why is that? Because he doesn't want to make women equal to men to be free to move around even in their own homes. And do not, Muhammad said, and do not teach them how to write. Excuse me, what? Yes, Muhammad said, do not teach women how to write. Teach them to spin and recite Surah An-Nur. That is Quran chapter 24. And when we get to that chapter, and we're going to quote you some verses from it, you know why Muhammad wants Muslim ladies to learn or memorize Quran chapter 24. But that's, brother, so a direct command of Muhammad to all women, not to allow them to be educated. And we get surprised when people like Taliban, a true Muslim believers, will burn a school or kill young ladies who want to go to school. Because so the reality is this: if you're going to go to school, that means you're living in disobedience This is a command of Muhammad. He said, don't teach him how to read or write. Period. You know what? When I tell you, Saul, don't teach your daughter how to write. If you take your daughter to school, you're living in disobedience to Muhammad.
Yeah,
go ahead, brother.
Hadith or Quran? Because we need to put. I'm gonna put all these references at the box, at the description box. What you mentioned, Surah 24, was the one you're talking about? Is it Hadith or?
That's Hadith. That's Hadith given by Muhammad.
Ooh.
And the source is, one more time, if you're interested to learn about the source, it is Kunuz.
Give me that later. Continue. I just wanted, because I'm writing while you are.
Okay, it's Kunuz al-Ulum. Kunuz al-Ulum 2210.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So we can send this to you later. Now, I want to move to marriage in Islam. I love it how Muslim in America quote half of the verse, Brother Saul, and they put period anywhere they want, and they let it go as it is the end of the verse. So they would tell you in Islam, a man can have up to 4 wives, but if this will upset his first wife or second wife, then he will only have 1 wife. Or if he cannot treat them all the same, treats them fairly and equally and justly, then only 1 wife. Excuse me. Are you really that naive? Or you think I am that stupid to believe half of a verse? Let's go to Quran chapter 4, verse 1. Brother Saul, the book of women, Quran chapter 4 and verse 1. And here's what Allah said. O you people, fear your Lord, who created you from a single soul, and create a wife from it. And from them he spread many men and women. And fear Allah, of whom you ask. Of him the womb. Surely Allah was watching over you. The Muslim loves that verse. I promise you, you will never attend a meeting, Brother Saul, unless Muslim quote that verse. Why? Because now you talk about fearing God, you're talking about the single soul, and Allah created Eve from the single soul, which is Adam, blah, 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 blah. First of all, the verse is theologically is wrong. Why? Because the soul of Adam has nothing to do with the soul of Eve. He created them from 1 flesh, but not 1 soul. Adam's soul are separate from Eve's soul. The verse is wrong, but that is what Muslims like to quote. But what about the other verses in the Quran which teaches about the reality of Islam? I mean, think with me. I'm going to get to the 4 wives in a little bit here, Brother Saul. But for now, think about Quran chapter 2 and verse 178. Quran chapter 2 and verse 178, where Allah is telling us that the Muslim female soul have less volume than a Muslim man's soul, or actually a Muslim slave soul. Can you imagine those me? Here's the word of Allah. O you have believed, so Allah is speaking to believers, retaliation is decreed on you for the murder. If somebody commit murder, you have the right to retaliate. You have the right to get even. This is the beauty of Islam. But listen how the order is given. The free man for the free, and the slave for the slave, and the female for the female. Now, if you read that verse, Brother Saul, without understanding what behind this word, you may think in Islam, you know, they just retaliate. No, it is so ugly, it is so unjust, it is so barbaric. The explanation of this verse, it is this. If I am a free man and I killed a free man, the family of the free man have the right to retaliate by killing me. But if one of my slaves, say one of my slaves, Brother Saul, kill you, and you're a free man, your family will not kill my slaves, they kill me, the free man, because a free man for a free man. Now, if I killed one of your slaves and I'm a free man, you don't kill me, you pick up one of my innocent slave and kill him. Now, if I killed your wife, Brother Saul, you have no right to kill me. You only pick up my innocent wife and kill her. So what is the point of here? You have to retaliate.
SubhanAllah. I know, I mean, it's ridiculous, and people believe in this crap. Go, keep
but it is the reality, Brother Saul. It's the reality. But what do we learn from that? The Muslim man's soul is not equal to the Muslim slave soul, is not equal to the Muslim female soul. Because if they are the same, I killed your wife, I get killed because I am the one who killed your wife. You follow me? Now, That's not true. But they like to quote the previous verse, Quran 4:1, because they will tell you, look, here it is. We are created from one single soul. No, if it is one single soul and the man's soul equal to the woman's soul, if anybody kill anybody, the person who commit the murder according to the Mosaic law, the person who commit murder must be killed. I don't care who he killed. If you kill one of my slaves, if you kill my daughter, if you kill my wife, if you kill my son, whoever commits the murder should be punished. Not you pick up another innocent person equal to that which you lost and you kill. So obviously the teaching of Quran 4:1 is proven out to be false. It's not true. Muslims saw for a female different than Muslim men. Now, listen to Muhammad, what Muhammad said in the hadith. To understand that Muslim men and Muslim women are not equal. In Sahih Bukhari, write this down, my dear friends. Sahih Bukhari, volume 3, and hadith number 826. That is Bukhari, volume 3, hadith number 826. Muhammad asked some women, is it not the witness of a woman equal to half that of a man? The woman said, yes. He said, this is because of the deficiency of women's mind. So here's Muhammad's own word. Women are stupid, Brother Saul. They're not smart. They are stupid. That's why Allah in the Quran, we're going to read the verse in the Quran, said that a woman's voice in a court of law equal to half of a man. And not just that. In the case of witness, you have to have 2 men or 1 man and 2 women. If there's not 1 man and you got 300 women or 500 women as a witness, the witnesses are not good. You have to have at least 1 man and 2 women, or 2 men, but 500 women, 1,000 women? No. They are stupid.
Sarcastically, I mean, we're sarcastic. It's true, because we got 2 congresswomen, Muslim congresswomen, use American freedom to be congresswomen, to be powerful, to represent people. And guess what? The first thing they did, they promote Islamic Sharia law, who considers them deficient and inferior and stupid. Just imagine what kind of stupid is this. Okay.
But these are the word of Allah. Yeah. We're talking about the Quran. We're talking about the hadith. So we're not making this up. Now let me give you another hadith. This is also Al-Bukhari, the book of Nukah. That's a bad word. We're going to talk about Nukah a little bit later. And it is hadith number 50.
Thank you. Hold on, because we need to have the right translation to this word.
Okay, Nukah is the book of...
This is Islamic books, and they name it without being shy or shameful. Can you say the exact word?
The book of F with ING. You can say it. I cannot say it.
Can I say the missing letters?
Well, it's between you and your audience, but I don't say words
like
that.
The book of fucking, literally, that's the way. Because Nukah, a lot of non-speaking Arabic Muslims, they think.
And by the way, let's give the other side of what Muslims said about that word, because they will tell you it means marriage. No, it's not marriage.
No, it's marriage. Agree.
The word marriage. Yeah.
So I just want to say my point, and I'll give you the mic in a second. Lots of Muslim I met here in the U.S. that when I said Nukah, and what the hell? Nukah is not marriage. You said no, it's marriage. No, it's Nukah, because and the Quran mentioned the word zawaj, which is marriage. Yeah. Nukah is the F word.
And zawaj.
Imagine, yes, zawaj is marriage.
Zawaj is a bear. A man leave his father, his mother, and unite with his wife, and they become one flesh. That is Genesis, and that is Matthew 19. Old Testament, New Testament. That is marriage. And Muhammad knows this word, by the way, because somebody will say, well, maybe this is not a known word in the Arabic language. No, Muhammad used zawjah, zawjuha in the Quran.
And I approve that.
Muhammad knows the word.
Yes. And also, just want to mention to our viewers, because when they mention it, they are not shy of it, and they are proud of it, and they are proud that their prophet did this, the F word, the effing. Well, F-U-C-K-I-N-G, that's the most polite thing. Go ahead, Mr. Doctor.
No, one more word. Because the number of wives in Islam, which is no longer wives now, it's just sex, cannot fit with the words of marriage. So that's why Muhammad used the F word instead of marriage, because it's nonsense. But anyway, so here's what Muhammad said in hadith number 5094. 5094. It says, if there is a bad omen in anything, it is in the house and the woman and the horse. So bad omen, bad luck, evil thing, it is women. Equal to a house or a horse. Don't tell me why Muhammad said that, but that's now we know that women Islam is bad luck. It's a bad news. Now, I want to talk about, by the way, biblically, from Galatians chapter 3:28, the Bible teaches there is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. So in simple words, there's no in Christianity a man equal to woman, a Greek equal to anybody else, rich or poor, slave or free, we're all equal. There's no such a thing as somebody is better than us. Now, I love it how Muslim brothers always tell us that in Islam, man and women are equal. I mean, this is just the most repeated lie. Man and women are equal. Man and women are equal. I love it how they even say it sometimes. In the eyes of Allah, and in the eyes of God, man and women are equal. How in the world, in the eyes of Allah, men and women are equal, but when it comes to the word of Allah, not the eye of Allah, but the word of Allah, men and women are not equal. I mean, how can you make this work? Listen to what Allah said in Quran 4:34. 4:34. Men are in charge of women because Allah preferred some of them above the other, and because of what they spend out of their money. So good women are obedient, guarding in secret that which Allah has guarded. And the rest of the verse coming back, we're going to cover the rest of this the other half of this verse when we go to the beating of the wives. But for now, men are in charge of women. How in the world you tell me that in the eyes of Allah, men and women are equal, but in the word of Allah, they're not equal? Allah favored men over women. End of story, brother Saul. End of story. Remember one time I was in a church here in Cape Girardeau, some liberal wacko church who invited the Muslims to come to speak. And the last slide on the screen was men and women. The Quran teaches, I remember it exactly, the Quran teaches men and women are equal. And that was the last slide that lady was preaching or teaching in that church about women. So I stood up and I raised my hand, question answer session, and said yes. I said yes. And I said, here's my question. Where in the Quran can we find a verse which teaches that men and women are equal? She said, oh, it's all over the Quran, many verses, many places, but for the shortest of time here, she said, after the meeting is over, when we go downstairs in the fellowship home, we're going to have cookie and coffee and chocolate and ice cream and all this good stuff. I will get you a few verses so you can have access to them. I said, no, ma'am. I need to know it now. You said on the screen, the Quran teaches. Can you find me one verse? She said, well, I do not memorize the Quran. I said, with all respect, your husband, the Imam of the Islamic Center of Cape Girardeau, he is sitting in the front pew of the church, and he memorized the Quran. Would you please ask him to give us one verse? And guess what? It was the most awkward moment of that woman's life for the rest of his life, for the rest of her life. The church was so quiet, and we looked at each other, and her husband will not stand up to give me a verse. And then I quoted for her 4:34. I said, no, men are not equal to women because Allah made man in charge of women. And obviously, in contrast of that, 1 Peter 3:7 and Ephesians 2:25, it teaches us that men ought to love their wives as Christ loved the church, and man must give himself for his wife. And that's a huge difference between the teaching of the Quran and the teaching of Islam. Now, another very important verse, Brother Saul, about women being unclean. Women being unclean. I cannot help it. When I open Quran chapter 4, which is the book of women. You think about this, Saul. If the Quran have a chapter by the name the book of women, it should be a chapter to praise women, to lift up the spirit of women, to encourage women, to make women feel good about themselves. And the opposite is true. The book of women in the Quran is a curse on the woman.
No,
Like the
fact,
word, the people of the book. We're going to talk about that in the near future as well.
In
The
fact,
Jews and the Christians, Muslims, all that. Was the Quran always talk about the people of the book? We love the people of the book, and the people of the book this, and the people of the book that. But when you read the verses of the Quran where Allah mentioned the people of the book, these are the Jews and the Christians. They found out to be terrorized, to be beheaded, to be killing their men and rape their wives and take their homes and land and money. It is the opposite.
And they don't read it, Osama. They don't read it because, you know, I met several Muslim women in the U.S. They said, no, the Quran glorify women, respect women. There's a verse in the Quran called the women. I told them, yes, I know. That's when Allah authorized the Muslim men to beat you in that verse. The 3 more wives on top of you, plus endless sex slaves and concubines. Which it seems like they listen to the imams. They never read it.
Sure.
In fact, Surah An-Nisa, which is the women chapter, is how to beat an enslaved woman and get the heck out of her. I mean, there's no such a respect in that verse. Go ahead, please.
And that's exactly what we'll be talking about here. In Islam, to pray, you have to be clean. You have to be washed, hand and face and nose and ears and legs, and they have a special things they call wudu. Wudu. Now, Quran 4:43 said, "O you who have believed, do not come near the prayer while you're drunk, until you know what you're saying, nor after sexual orgasm, except that you are merely passing by." That is one of the so stupid verse. I'm not going to get into the sex part of it. Let's move on. Let's move on. And then he said, except that you are merely passing by until you wash. So you Muslims do not go to pray when they are not clean, or if they are drunk, so they can understand what they're saying in the prayer. And then he said, and if you were sick or traveling, or one of you has relieved himself, you go to the bathroom, or you have touched the woman. If you're sick, you're traveling, you know, you're dirty from the traveling. Of course, in Muhammad days, they did not drive in fancy cars or airplanes. They were riding camels and donkeys and mules, so you get dirty. Or if you go to the bathroom, you know, of course, you're going to be touching your poopy to clean yourself, so your hand is not clean. Or if you touched the woman, so you did not find water. Now, I need to pray, but there is no water. Of course, in Muhammad days, they do not have bathrooms and water running in the bathroom. So if you're in the desert and there's no water to be washed, then Muhammad, or Allah actually is telling us here, then rub your face and your hands with good dirt. Surely Allah was pardoning, forgiving. What is good dirt? What is sa'idan tayyiban?
No, I think the peninsula full of hot, clean dirt. I mean,
well, here's my interpretation, Brother Saul. Good dirt is loose dirt, does not have camel pee-pee or camel poopy. Because if the camel pee or poop in a piece of dirt, it will be stuck together. You need loose dirt, you know, clean dirt. No pee-pee, no poopy of any animal, so it'll be good dirt. But can you imagine with me, Brother Saul? If I touch my wife, if I touch my daughter, if I touch my neighbor, shake her hand, okay? Now I touch her. Now I am unclean. Well, I need to be washed. It's equal for me to clean myself after going potty, okay? Suffocated, okay? Now, and if there's no water, I get some dirt and I rub my hand and I rub my face with that good dirt, and now I'm clean. What is the conclusion? The Quran teaches that women are dirtier than dirt. As a matter of fact, dirt becomes a shampoo or the soap where you wash yourself with. It's how much respect women have when Allah taught them that they're dirtier than dirt.
Exactly.
That's a problem. That's a problem. Let's move on. Let's move on. We got lots to cover, brother. We got lots to cover.
Keep going.
Hadith. Here is the hadith to know how much Islam have respect for women. Sahih Muslim, book number 4, and the hadith number is 1032. 1032. You can also find this in also Sahih al-Bukhari, the book of prayers, the book of prayers, hadith number 514. Now, listen to what Muhammad said. We read already what Allah said in the Quran. Let's talk about Muhammad. When one of you stand in prayer, what definitely constitute his prayer is a barrier for him, is an object placed in front of him of the same height of the back of a camel saddle. It is not in front of him and this of the same height of the back of a camel saddle, then some stray donkey or some woman passing or some black dog will cut off his prayer. I said, oh, Abu Dahr, what is that makes a black dog different from a red or a yellow dog? He replied, oh dear cousin, I asked the messenger of Allah the exact same question. He said that the black dog is a devil. You understand this, Brother Saul, but obviously our friend, the American here, do not understand what we're talking about. You have to have a barrier in front of you when you pray. You don't just pray in public like anywhere and people walk in front of you and blah. So when you stand to pray, you're going to face Mecca and Allah, you know how you pray, Muslim pray. Now there's a barrier. There have to be at least a good 4.5 feet, 5 feet, whatever, the height of a saddle.
Man, they don't do it in the West. They pray in the street. They pray in the mall in IKEA. They pray even on the highway, on the second lane of the left. They get sick with it.
I know, but it's a little bit twisty. But, anyway,
yeah,
we have to have some barrier, like a curtain, like a piece of wall, in case of what? A wild donkey, a donkey walking by, or a woman passing by, or a black dog. So here Muhammad is telling us black dog, donkey, or a woman, and black dog because it's of the devil. Yellow dog is okay. Orange dog is okay. You know, colorful dogs, but black dog, oh no. If any of these three creatures, black dog, camel, a donkey, or a woman, walk in front of the man, and there's no barrier, this qibla place, then man prayer is cut off. I love it how in America some girls became Muslim, Brother Saul, and they were so happy. They said the Shahada, and now she's going with her boyfriend, future husband, to the mosque to pray, and she walked with him inside the mosque, and she's gonna stand up next to him in the prayer time and say, "Oh no, excuse me, ladies, you need to go back in the back room. There's a curtain in the back there. You go behind the curtain and you pray." And she left Islam on the spot because you see, he told her boyfriend who led her to Islam, in Islam, women equal to men. She went to the mosque and they said she cannot stand up next to her boyfriend to pray. So backward. She actually left the mosque completely. She's no longer a Muslim because what they teach about women in Islam is one thing, and what Islam teach about women in Islam is the opposite thing. But how do women feel like to know that they are equal to donkeys and black dogs? God help us. So that is obviously what the hadith teaches. I want to talk a little bit about the hijab. I love it how it's amazing. I attend 2 meetings. One of Dr. Sahar in New Orleans, and this other lady is the Imam's wife in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and they both have the same story. It's like they're reading from the same manual. They're reading the same book. And what is the story? That both of these 2 ladies, when they came to America, their daddy or their husband told them, you don't have to wear the hijab anymore. It's a free country. Please show your hair, show your beauty. And they both said, oh no, I want to please Allah. I want to please Muhammad. I'm not doing this for you, honey. I'm doing it for me. And they both assured the audience in the church and in the University of New Orleans that nobody forced them to wear the hijab. And the Quran never teach women to put hijab. If they feel like they do it, if they don't feel like they do it, they don't have to do it. But they choose to do it on their own. But when we read the hadith and when we read the Quran, Brother Saul, the command is very clear. You have no choice. You have to wear the burqa, the hijab. As a matter of fact, let's study where does this come from. Khalifa Umar. He was walking in the streets and he hears this little boys clapping hand. Sahla, we saw you, Sahla, Sahla, we know you, Sahla, Sahla, it's you, Sahla, Sahla. What is that? Kids clapping hand and they call a lady by her name. Sahla was one of Muhammad's wife. And because she went to go potty in Muhammad days, there is no bathroom in the house. You just go outside in the wooded area or some, there's not even trees there. You just go in the Sahara, in the desert, and you sit down and you poopy and you pee pee and you leave. That's how they do it. Okay? So the little boys were calling one of Muhammad's wife by her name because they saw her, she go and potty. I don't know why the kids did that, but Omar saw that and he was very disgusting. He's very upset. So he went to Muhammad and said, "Oh, Apostle of Allah, we need to stop that." He said, "What do you want me? What do you mean to do?" He said, "Ask our women to be covered with hijab, where you see her face, where you see her eyes, when you see her nose. No, cover like a stack of potato, Brother Saul." Exactly, with one hole in front of their left eye so they can see where they're walking. So when she go potty in the next time, the boys do not know, the little kids will not know who is this person who is sitting to relieve herself. That is what Omar advised Muhammad. Quickly, Allah told Muhammad, yes, indeed, I want to do that. And we got verses in the Quran teach that. For example, Quran 24:31, that is the book of Surah Al-Nur, which Muhammad wanted the ladies to memorize or to recite it. And say to the believing woman to restrain their eyes and to guard their private part and do not display their ornament except that which appears from it, and that they throw their veils over their bosom and do not display their ornament, and blah blah blah. The rest of the verse is a long verse. Go read Quran 24:31. They throw their veils over their bosom. You know what the best explanation to this, Brother Saul? A lady wear a dress from the shoulder down. Are you following me? From the shoulder down. Another dress from their head down. So you will never know who is that woman behind the hijab. This is the custom of Allah. I love it how Muslim America says, "Oh, the hijab is culture." When you see ladies with full burqa, where you cannot even see her eyes, this is not Islam. This is just stupid culture of Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan or the Taliban. This is not Islam. No, that is Islam. As a matter of fact, if you want to understand what is the future of America with these ladies who wears the hijab right now, the one you see their face and their eyes and the makeup and how beautiful and attractive they are, how about go to London? How about go to Berlin? How about go to Paris? How about go to Sweden or Norway? I mean, these European countries are now loaded with Muslim ladies in full burqa, full hijab. You cannot see their faces. And if it is in London today, I guarantee you, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, it will be all over America. They start with the beautiful, desirable, like the one Linda Sarsour wear, and makeup and all this good stuff. And then all this will be covered someday when Muslims have Sharia, full Sharia in America. So that is concerning hijab. It is not culture, Brother Saul. It is Islam. It is Islam. Now, here's a lie Dr. Ruqayya Abdul Maqsood taught in England about polygamy. She said, what about polygamy, which the Quran endorsed up to the limit of 4 wives for a man, per man. The Prophet, of course, lived in a time when continual warfare produced large number of widows. In these circumstances, polygamy was encouraged as an act of charity. Needless to say, the widow were not necessarily sexy young women, but actually mothers up to 6 children who came as a part of the deal. You know how much beautiful their writings here? First of all, if you talk to Dr. Ruqayya Abdul Maqsood about warfare, war and jihad and killing, she will tell you Muhammad never involved in any war, and they were only fighting for self-defense. And Muhammad was so loving and Muhammad was so peaceful. But if you talk about polygamy, they will tell you, well, in the days of Muhammad, there were continuing warfare, which sadly produced large number of widows. Which way you want to take it, young lady? Was Muhammad a peaceful prophet and nobody was killed? When you talk about the loving, peaceful Islam, or was Muhammad a warrior, a jihadi, and during his life there was continuing warfare, which causes to have plenty of widows? But then the next slide, she said, because of this large number of widows, Muslims were encouraged, Muslim men, to have 4 wives, to have polygamies. Why? As an act of charity. Brother Saul, let me look at your face when I'm talking to you. If you want to do charity, if you want to feed some widows, if you want to take some orphans, do you have to sleep with their mama? If you want to feed your neighbor, with respect, your neighbor now died of old age or cancer or accident, and you and your wife are going to be nice to your neighbor, lady, the widow, and you want to take care of her. So you're going to say, sweetheart, I'm going to feed you right now, but I have to sleep with you. Is that how you do it?
No, it's the Islamic way. Actually, the same argument I use here in the U.S. with Muslims. That you do charity through sex. You want to help a widow. Her husband just got killed with sex.
They call this in America. They call this friendship. They call this in America friendship with benefits. I'm gonna take care of. I'm gonna give you food to eat this next few days, but you have to sleep with me. That is the idea of Dr. Rifka Abdul Maqsood. That's the lady have a doctorate degree.
I want to support what you just said, because they said Muhammad was that peaceful, nice man. Then who said I came with a slaughter? I came to slaughter, and my wealth from my sword and from the shadow of my sword.
Sure.
That's Islam. That's the laughing killer, the laughing slaughterer. These are the Muhammad names, but they don't mention them, of course, now because the recruiting.
Now I want to ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you a question, Brother Saul.
Sure.
The men who went to fight with Muhammad, give me a roughly age. If right now you are a man who want to put an army, like American army or Iraqi army or Egyptian army, what do you think the age of the men whom you're going to take to war? Just give me close age. Let me give you 3 options. Let me give you 3 options. Men in their 20s, men in their 40s, men in their 60s. What age of men you will take to fight for you?
Yeah. I mean, of course, the 20. I mean, 18 plus or 21 plus, but 20s, let's say.
But not 40s, not 60s, not 80 years old men.
60s actually they need daycare.
60s already dead in Muhammad days, because people in Muhammad days, they live to be 60 years old. So you have to take the 20 years old young man to go and fight. 25. Maybe if his shortage with number of men, he maybe go to the late 20s, but not 40s, not 60s. Listen to what Dr. Ruqayya Abdul Maqsood said. She said, needless to say, the widows were not necessarily sexy young women. Excuse me. If Muhammad was 51 years old and he have a wife who's 6 years old, do you think his men who went to fight with him, who were maybe say 25, 30 years old, do you think they are married to women who are in their 50s? Their wives are in their 60s? Or their wife also the teenagers, young girls?
Exactly, teenagers, young girls, and I can approve also your message, because it's a tradition in Islam since Muhammad till now. No way, even we have the 60s, 80s, whatever, they marry children. They marry underage. Go ahead.
How in the world these young girls whom their husband died fighting with Muhammad are old and ugly and not sexy, and each one of them have 6 children? Why, they start having babies when they were 2 or 3? You're laughing, Saul. It's not laughable math. It's a serious.
I know. It is. Look, because we know the truth and we did the homework. We can see it from out of the box. But unfortunately, they have, the Islamic lobby in the U.S. and the West very strong. They spread all their lies and their conferences wherever you go in the U.S. Islamic conference, like it's just
exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly. Yes. So, Dr. Ruqayya continued to say, polygamy is no longer common for various good reasons. The Quran states that the wives needs to be treated fairly and equally. Let me ask you a question. In Iraq, do you guys have any man with a second wife?
Yeah, actually, thank you for the questions. And the question, in fact, lately after the so-called Arab Spring, of course, there are multiple wives. That's very normal. But
Sure.
when
But
Islam took over, like in Libya, the first
sure.
after Gaddafi, the first thing the Islamic government did allow for wives back. In Iraq now, in Iraqi parliament women calling for child marriage. In Syria, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, and of course in Arabia, in Egypt.
We're going to talk about that. It's coming up, Brother Saul. It's coming up. Coming up. But then she said, a difficult requirement, even for a rich man. Excuse me. I know a lot of poor people in Egypt who have second and third and fourth wife. Sex is more powerful than money. If a man in his 30 or his 40, his 50, and he have one or two wives and he need to have sex with a younger girl, don't tell me if he have money or not. He will marry ala sunnatillahi wa rasulih. He will marry according to the sunnah of Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, and he will have sex with her. It has nothing to do with money, rich or not. Man loves sex. Muhammad enticed his men with sex. For heaven's sake, they went to fight battle with him, and they may get killed to get another white woman, a beautiful, attractive woman with blue eye or green eyes of the Romans or the Greeks. So this is ridiculous. Moreover, she said, if a husband wishes to take a second wife, he should not do if the marriage will be to the detriment of the first. What? So here's the deal. If I want to have a second wife, Saul, I said, Vicky, honey. She said, yeah, I love you, baby. Yes, I know you love me. I've been married to you all these last 28 years. Yes, honey. Would you please let me go have another wife? There's another young lady here, and she's a widow. Her husband died in the war, and with Muhammad. And actually, I'm gonna do it for charity, okay? But I really want to have sex with her, and I want to marry. Is that okay with you? Would you give me permission? Can you imagine if a woman in America, any woman in America, the husband say he's going to do charity with the neighbor's widow and have sex with her? Which wife in America will say, go ahead, honey. I know your heart. I know you're going to love that woman to charity work, not any more or less than charity. You know what I'm saying?
I know. I think Vicky will put 9mm bullets in your head right there.
If I got 9, that'll be a nice size. Maybe she give me the 38 bigger bullets. Okay. Now, okay, let's read the Quran. Now, forget about what the Muslims say in America, and let's read the words of Allah in the Quran. As I shared with you earlier, Muslims like to read half of the verse. Here's the verse now, and now we got to the verse. Quran chapter 4, verse 3. Write it down, ladies and gentlemen. Quran chapter 4, verse 3. And if you fear that you cannot deal fairly among the orphans, and that portion of the verse blow my mind. You mean a man cannot control himself and he will have sex with the orphans? Because we're talking about marriage here, Saul. Why Allah, Quran 4 verse 3, start with, if you fear that you cannot deal fairly among the orphans. وَإِنْ خُفْتُ أَلَّا تَقْسُطُوا فِي الْيَتَامَى. So, here we go. Marry what appears to you from the women. 2 and 3 and 4. So if you cannot control your passion, men, if you cannot control your sex drives with the little girls, the orphans, then marry 2 and 3 and 4. Maybe if a man has the second wife and the third wife and the fourth wife, then he can control his sexual drive and he will not play with the little orphans. That's how sick Allah is.
He didn't mention Mary. Are you sure? In this verse, there's no Mary. Oh, you did it in a nice way, you mean? Because I want to tell our viewers the truth in Arabic language, what it's saying in the Quran. And this verse doesn't say Mary. It said inkahu.
Inkahu, yes.
What does it say? It again, please.
So if with ing.
Why do you change it then? Okay, they use this word, marriage. It's not married, and the Quran says literally.
Okay, let me give you my answer for that.
Go ahead.
Muslim scholars say, since we have it, the reason I put Mary here, because it will fit. That word will fit with the first woman a man will be married to. Okay.
What about the rest of the verse?
Adultery.
Thank you. So what? No, but in the Quran, I mean, I can pull it now, but it say literally. It
So
doesn't
I
say
know,
married.
brother,
If
I
you
know
fear
your
not,
argument.
if you fear not to be just, then
Okay.
fuck whomever you like, 2, 3, 4.
Okay,
Right?
okay. I understand what you're saying, but I have to be very decent and very honest in
Sure,
my
sure, sure.
translation.
Wait. Agree with you. I know you manners. I know how polite and gentleman you are, but Quran not polite, not gentleman. Muhammad never gentleman, and people need to literally. We talking to Western viewers. They need to know what's in the Quran. In the Quran, ladies and gentlemen, in the name, I swear with this flag, in the name of Jesus Christ, whomever. It does not say Mary. It says if you fear if you fear you're not just, then fuck 2, 3, 4. Am I right, sir?
Okay, so
Am I right?
okay,
Am I right?
yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
Thank
But
you.
the first woman a Muslim man will be doing this F thing is actually his wife. That's why I put the word marry. That's the whole point. The second wife is like any one of us can marry a wife, and then he can sleep around with other women. I don't call sleeping around with other women as marriage. That's not marriage. That is adultery. That's fornication. That's whatever you want to call it. It's adultery. Okay. So let's continue with the verse. you
the
you put
worst
me on the
is still
spot,
to
man.
come. The
Okay.
worst is still to
But
come.
listen. So marry what you appeared 1 and 2, 2 and 3 and 4. But listen, and that's when Muslims stop. No, we don't stop. Why? Because the verse is not ended yet. So if you feel that you cannot treat them equally, so one, and then I have semicolon, and that one I have after between bracket one wife, because that is only one wife. Okay, and then I will continue with the verse which Muslims will never quote in America. Why? Because that will hit them twice. It hit them about the immorality of Allah's word, and it hit them about slavery. Why? After that, Allah said, or, and I have between soft bracket, have sex with what your right hand possesses. These are slaves and concubines. That is near that you may not have hardship.
All
Excuse
right,
me, what?
I need thank you, Osama. Osama been very gentleman and polite. He doesn't want to say it. He said, then marry. Then Allah said the worst after the first wife, and then 3. He told his follower to fuck 3. Then, if you're not happy with those 4, then you can rape. You can have sex with the sexes with your right hand possesses, which is you kill men, non-Muslim men, and take their wife and children as slave, sexual slave, and concubine. And by the way, it's endless, not 1, 2, 3, or 1,000, more as much as you can. And that's why actually the drive of Muslim jihadis go kill men and take
The
their
wives and the daughters.
wife and children. By the way, if you can get the mother sexual slave and her daughter, and even if you get babies from them, they are your slave automatically.
And we're gonna
Go ahead.
we're gonna get to another verse coming up, very important, which Quran 4:24, which will shock people as well. Now, let's go with let's continue, brother Saul. About Muslim will say that marriage in Islam is it have to be mature wife. She have in America they teach that she have to accept the marriage. If she said no, I don't want to marry him, then that means he cannot marry her. You cannot force a woman in Islam to marry a man, and a woman have the right to divorce her husband, and blah 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 blah. The lies of Muslims in America, which they keep repeat, as Joseph Goebbels said, and American people sadly believe it. Now, let's go to Quran chapter 65, verse 4, to know about the age of marriage in Islam. Quran 65, 4, and Allah said, and for those of your women who despair of menstruation, these are the older ladies, 45, 50, when a woman no longer have her period. If you doubt they may be pregnant, their prescribed waiting time is 3 months. What we're talking about here. If a man is married to a wife and he divorced her, and say she is 47, 48, she no longer have her period. She cannot be pregnant. But in my mind, I had sex with my wife last week and I divorced her today. What if she's pregnant? Well, you saw me. She's 47. She's 48. I don't care. I'm doubting. Allah said, that's okay. She can no longer marry, she cannot marry to another husband after I divorce her unless 3 months go by. Why? Because if her belly got big, if she, the pregnancy show up on her and she got, big belly, that means there's a baby growing in the womb. That means she is pregnant by my baby and my baby is mine. She cannot keep the children. Okay, we're going to talk about that maybe a lot of time later in depth. But here is the rest of the verse. As well as for those who have not yet begun menstruation. I have between bracket children. The interpretation of Muslim scholars to that verse is this: if a Muslim man is married to a little girl, a little child who did not yet have her first period, we're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8, he can have sexual relationship with her. Why? Because if I'm married to a little child, and that little child, I divorced her after having sex with her, and in my mind, I am saying, well, maybe she's pregnant. Allah also said, don't worry about it. She will not be able to be abused by a new husband for 3 months in case she's pregnant by your baby. Can you imagine this with me, Brother Saul? This is the true teaching of the Quran, the word of Allah, about the age of marriage. That's why Aisha said in Sahih Bukhari, the Apostle of Allah married me when I was 6, had sex with me when I was 9, and he died when I was 18. Muhammad died when he was 63 years old, which means Aisha was literally 9 years old when Muhammad had sex with her, and he was 54 years old. This is the Sunnah of Islam, Muhammad, the noble example, as we started our Quran, our study today, the first verse. And here is the word of Allah in the Quran, which allow Muslim men to be involved sexually with little girls who did not yet have their first period. That is what we call sexual abuse. That is sexual abuse, Saul. I'm sorry. I don't have another word for it.
It is. People so crazy about sex trafficking, whatever, but that's, I mean, criminals do that. But in Islam is legit. It's in a holy text and make it a huge difference of it. Till today, they said like about 8 Yemeni girls die every day of child marriage. Of course, that's now in Iraq and Syria, Libya, but Yemen, like, famous of this.
Yeah. Especially at the time of the birth of the baby, because can you imagine a 10 or 11, the first egg came out of her body was met with the man's sperm, and a child having a baby. I mean, I understand. I cannot imagine how hard and how difficult for man to have intercourse with a little girl who her body cannot have the male private part inside her. Can you imagine how hard it is for that little child to have a baby come out of her?
That's why pedophilia is a sickness. It's a disease. But also, I want to ask you about, because a lot of Westerners or Western ladies, they don't know about this. Now, if you get married to a Muslim man, what are your rights with your child, your inheritance, your house? Is your child, like as a Muslim Westerner to marry to a Westerner married to a Muslim guy, who your child belong to? Who the child belong to now? Can you do this also, please?
The child always belongs to the Muslim father. That's why Muslims are pushing Sharia in our courts. They want, only in the cases of husband and wife. Yes, in America, a mama should have the right to have access to her child, but not in Islam. Even the Quran said if the father and the mother disagree about the price of feeding the baby, breastfeeding the baby, he can find another wife, another woman to breastfeed her child. They will take a baby from his mother's bosom to give to another woman to breastfeed for him. That's how evil it is. But how about having sex with married women? In Quran chapter 4 verses 23 and 24, Allah said, "Who are women? Which women are men are forbidden to have sex with?" But let's just read 24 for the sake of time. "And married women are also forbidden, except all that your right hand possesses." If you go read the interpretation of that verse by Muslim scholars, Brother Saul, it is sick. That Muslim men who went and fought with Muhammad, they captured some women and their husbands were still alive. Their husband ran for their life. And then they did not feel it is right for them. These are the decent men, decent Muslim men. They did not feel right to have sex with these women because they know their husband's still alive. Their husband just ran out from the field of war. Then Allah gives the answer to Muhammad. Well, it is forbidden, Muhammad, for men to have sex with married women. But in that case here, Allah Almighty is telling Muhammad, it is okay. It's okay for a Muslim man to have sex with married women if they are their right hand possession. Which means in Islam, with all respect, Brother Saul, I can have a wife, I can have a slave and her husband, married couple. And I will look from my window, hey, Ali! Yes, master. Send your wife to my bed. I need to have sex with her right now. Yes, sir. Can you imagine that with me? A Muslim man in Islam has the right to have sex with his slave, even if she's married, because it is his right hand possessions. Welcome to Islam. Welcome to Islam. Let's move on. Let's move on. You know, you're talking about the word you mentioned a minute ago about sex trafficking. Okay. Quran chapter 24 verses 33. Remember now, that is a chapter which Muhammad wanted the Muslim ladies to memorize. Quran 24 33. And do not, Allah said, and do not compel your young female to become prostitute if they want to keep chase. Don't make prostitution business in your backyard, in your houses, in your tent by all these young ladies whom you capture in war. Don't do it. But listen to the rest of the verse. So that you seek the material of this world's life. Don't make prostitute out of them so you get rich. And whoever compelled them, so surely after they were compelled, Allah is forgiving, merciful. So the Quran clearly teach, don't have prostitute out of these young girls you capture in war. So you get rich, you know, because if you have, 10 girls, say $2 a piece, and you get 20 men to sleep with them, you make $80 a day. That's a lot of money, okay? $80 a day. And you do this every day, and you have a house of prostitution. Allah said, don't do that if they don't want to do it, if these girls don't want to do it. But here's the other part of the verse. But if you did it anyway, if you compel them to become person, it's okay, Brother Saul, Allah is forgiving, Allah is merciful, go on with life.
Alhamdulillah.
It is sad. It's sad. So Islam teach it's okay for sex trafficking. It's okay to have girls for sex, especially if they are young, beautiful, attractive women. I'm not going to talk about the marriage certificate, but I'm going to share with you quickly. I studied this in school in Egypt, and I was shocked when I heard Dr. Muhammad, who used to come to us from the Azhar University, which is the largest Muslim university in the world. It's 1,000 years old. It's 1,000 years old. He used to come to Alexandria once a week, actually twice a week, to teach our class about Islam, okay? Marriage in Islam. So the contract marriage is, Brother Saul, it's a piece of paper, and in it, I'm going to say it quickly, I'm not going to waste too much time. In it, you will write the name of the husband, the name of the wife, the name of the wali, the man who's going to give the wife away to, like, her father, her brother, her uncle, some male in the family, and the down payment, like you're going to buy a donkey or buy a camel or buy a car. Down payment is, say, $3,000, okay? And then here is the payment in the case of divorce, which is the final payment. Say if I divorce you, and the contract say I will pay you $100 a week, $100 a month for the next 10 years after divorce. That's a contract. So in the contract, you have to put how much money down payment and how much the payment every month after divorce. You follow me? So they have in their mind that if he divorced her, that's how much money she make. And we get married. And then I don't want to divorce her. And then I do not know what I'm going to do about this next payment, because I got enough, after you marry your wife for 10, 15 years, she's no longer young. You want to replace her with a younger one. The other three is getting older. So you want to get rid of the old one. So what do? You want to divorce. If you divorce her, you're going to pay the late dowry. They call it late dowry, okay? So what you need to do is very simple. Treat her like a piece of trash. beat her in the morning, beat her in the evening, and beat her in the afternoon. Whenever you have a chance, beat her until she cry and she say, "Divorce me, please, divorce me." And if she asks for the divorce, she will not get the late dowry, which means you say, "Okay, you're divorced," and she leaves the house, and the marriage is over without paying a dime. That's how beautiful the contract of marriage in Islam. They teach in America that that contract protect the woman. No, it does not protect the woman. In the contract, only the wali, the father or the uncle or the brother or somebody relative to her, can divorce her from her husband if this person still exists. But only the man in Islam can divorce a wife. A woman cannot divorce her husband. Now, what about divorce in Islam? Quran chapter 2, verses 229 and 230. And I want you, my dear friends, listen carefully how Allah described divorce in Islam. The divorce is twice, so keep them in fairness or put them away in fairness. But if it's not lawful to you, but it is not lawful for you to seek what you have given to them of anything unless they feel that they cannot keep the limits of Allah. So if I give my wife dowry or any gifts during my 15 years enjoying her youth and her young, beautiful body, I cannot take this gift back. But then Allah said, if or unless or but, and there's always exception, unless I fear that the wife will not keep the limits of Allah. So I can actually take whatever gifts I give to her during these years of marriage. And then he said, so if he divorce her a third time, so it is not lawful for him to take her again as wife. Let me explain to you what I'm talking about here, because the verse is a little bit confused, Brother Rasul. I'm married to my wife, Vicky. So I divorced her. Remember the 3 months limit. After I divorced my wife, I said, "You're divorced. Get out of my house. I don't want you anymore." Or I don't actually have to say the word "you're divorced." I can say other words which have the same meaning of divorce, like "You're not lawful for me. I'm not lawful for you. I don't want you in my marriage, in my life." You know, all these words means I don't want this relationship to continue anymore. Now, she may leave the house, go to her family house now. She's now living with her mom and dad or some relative to her. Within 3 months, Brother Saul, I can call my wife and bring her back. I can go to her daddy's house and, "Yes, Hajj Hussein, I want my wife back." "Oh, you want your wife back? Oh, praise Allah. I'm glad you want your wife back." So I can have her back. I married her for another year or two and I got mad at her. She didn't put enough salt or pepper on the meal. She didn't clean my clothes right or something. "You stupid piece of woman, you're divorced." So I divorced the second time. Within 3 months, Brother Saul, I came down. Now I'm relaxed and I want her back. I can go bring her back within 3 months. If 3 months went by, she can be married to another husband. You understand that? But before the third month is over, I have the right to bring my wife back. Now, if I divorce my wife, say the third time, I can no longer have her back. So she is free now. No, she's not. Why? Listen to what Allah said in the rest of the verse. If I divorce my wife the third time, I can no longer have her back again until she, listen carefully, until she has sex with another husband. So if the new husband divorce her, then there will be no sin on them if they return to each other. Wow. So now I divorced my wife the third time. What am I going to do, Brother Saul? I need to find
people might think you're joking. They don't know this is real.
Brother, this is the word of Allah in the Quran. We don't joke about the word of Allah in the Quran.
Yeah,
that is Islam.
Exactly.
It's Sharia, Islam. So now I need to bring my wife back. I divorced her 3 times. So I need to find somebody I trust. Somebody close to me. Say a cousin, say a good friend, my best friend. Pick up the phone and dial his number. "Hey, Mustafa." "Hey, man. It's your buddy, Usama. How are you? I need you for a favor, man. I trust you so much. I know how much you love me, and I trust you. Yeah. You know I trust you now, okay? Please, I'm really struggling here, and you're the only one who I can trust with my own ex-wife. I divorced my wife the third time. please help me, please. Okay, okay. So, but I trust you now. Okay, thank you so much. Now, Mustafa, my friend, my best friend, or my cousin, will have my wife, my ex-wife, as a wife. Have normal wedding, Islam wedding, imams and witness and everything, and do have sex. I hope and I pray that he will only have sex with my wife as many times as you want, but just one day. Okay, one night. I don't want him to like her so much. That's okay, Saul. You can laugh. That's okay. You can laugh. I don't want him to like her so much because what if he kept her? If he really worthy of my trust, after having sex with my wife all night long, that in the morning he will tell her, "You're divorced." If he divorced my wife, then I can have her back as my wife. What a beautiful religion. What a respectful religion for women. How great Allah who treat women to be treated like trash. Or actually more than trash. I don't think men will have sex with trash. Can you imagine with me, Saul? When a man give his own wife to his best friend to marry to have sex with. That goes against what is written in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verses 1 through 4. I know Muslims says they believe in Moses. I know Muslims says they believe in the Torah, but they know nothing about Moses or the Torah, because here's what Allah, no, what God said to Moses. Deuteronomy 24, 1 to 4. When a man has taken a wife, and it came to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he has found something or some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorce and give it in her hand. She may go and be married or wedded to another man. And if the later husband hate her and wrote her a bill of divorce, or if the later husband died, her former husband may not take her again as a wife after she is defiled, for that is abomination before the Lord. In simple word, brother Saul, the Bible teaches in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 24, verses 1 to 4, if a man marry a woman and divorce her, and then she go marry another husband, if another husband died or divorced her, the first husband cannot marry her, because that's an abomination. God does not want people to marry, divorce their wife, gives a wife to somebody, he divorces her, and then I take my wife back, and we live like animals. Okay, that is not acceptable in the eye of the true God, the God of Moses, the God of the Bible. In Islam, is the opposite. I wanna get my wife back after I divorced her 3 times. I found myself a good buddy of mine to sleep with her, that he divorced her so I can marry her. You see the difference between marriage in Islam and marriage in Christianity? Divorce in Islam and divorce in Christianity it's actually the opposite of each other. We said only man can divorce a wife. That is the law in Islam, and it is sick. It is sick. How about inheritance? Because we're running out of time here. Quran 4:11. Oh, by the way, all these verses in the book of women. As you said, Saul, earlier, Muslim in America brag about Allah have a whole chapter in the Quran. It's called the Book of Women. Listen to what Allah said in Quran chapter 4, verse 11. Allah commands you concerning your children, to the male the like portion of 2 female. So if I'm gonna leave some inheritance right now, brother Saul, to my children, every one of my boys get twice of every one of my daughters. And I love how Muslim in America explain how this is actually very justifiable. This is nice. This is good. Why is that? They will tell you, brother Saul, because her husband take care of all her needs. So all this money she's going to inherit from her father, she's going to put in her account. She can buy gold with it. She can buy ice cream with it. She can buy, stuff with it. She does not need any of it. And here's my question, brother Saul. Are you assuming that every woman in Islam is married? What about the one who's never got married? Is half of the inheritance of her brother is enough for her in a culture does not allow her to work? Because in Islam you cannot work anywhere. I'm going to show you the laws of Saudi Arabia, which a biblical chronicle law. How about the woman who's divorced? How about the widows who have a bunch of children and they will not have too much to inherit from their own husband to start with? You think half is enough? If it is my opinion, Brother Saul, I would say when a man in Islam die in that culture setting, all his inheritance should give to his daughters, not to his sons, because they can work as he can take care of themselves and others. Okay, this is just my simple opinion. Let me share with you the law in Saudi Arabia. Listen to King Fahd. This is law number 11,651. You can go online, find out. King Fahd ibn Abdul Aziz passed a law. The number of the law 11,651, which dated 1605, the year 1403 Hijrah. It says, the law states, women are not allowed to work in any institution, public or private, or any government offices, no working whatsoever. The reason is because it is unlawful and stands against Islamic law and the tradition of the country. Once again, the law number is 11,651. Anybody can go online and investigate what I'm talking about, so know exactly what I'm talking here about the law. Women cannot work anywhere, period. Let's move on. One more thing about the beating of the wife. I think it's very important, Saul, to talk about the beating of the wife. And I love it how Muslims in America will tell you, oh no, there's no beating. And even the beating in Islam, Brother Saul, it is light beating. You know what light beating is? Try it with your wife sometime. And don't call me to come sleep in my garage. I have no room for you. Trust me. So if you start beating your wife lightly, I mean, you're talking about even verbal abuse. You know what verbal abuse? When you disrespect your wife, when you call her a piece of trash, when you call her as how Muhammad will call a woman, as we already read in the hadith. I'm sorry, no woman in the world, unless it is a Muslim woman, of course, would love her husband to treat her with less of anything as a human. What do you mean beat her lightly? But here is the word of Allah in the Quran. Here's the word of Allah in the Quran. On 434, the second half of the verse, which I did not read to you earlier. And of whom you fear rebellion. He's not talking about the woman who rebel, but the woman whom you're afraid maybe, Brother Saul, in the next few years, they're going to rebel. So, what are you going to do? First, so preach to them and separate it from them in bed and scourge them. Let me talk about preaching to them. You mean saying preach to them, you speak to them nicely. Like say, sweetheart, I love you. And you know how much I really care about our marriage and our relationship and our children. So please, sweetheart, I don't want you to rebel in the future. I kind of feel it in my heart right now, here deep in my heart here. I feel like you maybe are about to rebel. So here's my sermon to you this morning. Be nice and do not rebel. No, that's not the preaching of Muhammad. Let me prove to you from the hadith, that's not actually what Muhammad said. Why is that? Muhammad gave us a good hadith about what you should hang on the what do you call this? You know, in America we have the fireplace, and you have this piece of wood above the fireplace, or you hang family pictures, or you hang your Christmas socks so you can gift each other.
I think, okay. Hang your whip.
You got it. Let me give you where this come from. Yeah. It is actually a hadith given according to the Meek Sharia in the book of the revealed Al-Kashaf, Al-Kashaf, Al-Kashaf. Muhammad said, hang the whip where your wives can see it. That is in volume 1, hadith number 525. Volume 1, hadith, page number 525. I'm sorry, that book by the page, not by the hadith. Page 525 in Al-Kashaf. Okay. Hang the whip where your wife can see it. So in simple words, if you're going to preach your wife, all what you need to do, just point by your hand to the mantle in the top of the fireplace and say, women, here it is. That's a good sermon, isn't it? 2 simple words. Here it is. 3 words. So if you don't do it right, I'm going to beat the daylight out of you. That is a preaching. How about separating in bed? And Dr. Sahar said, he also will suffer from it. If he's not having sex with her, he's not having sex himself, so he will be suffering like she's suffering. I said, excuse me, are you forgetting that he is having the other 3 wives and the unlimited number of concubines and slaves? You can treat your wife like a piece of trash by ignoring her in bed and sleeping with other women in the same bed. Do you think in Muhammad days, men have 4 bedrooms in the house and every bedroom have a bed? Or he have 1 bed and all his wife meet with him in the same bed? She'll be sleeping under the bed in the dirt, on the dirt, and he will have sex with other women. If that's not abuse, what do you call that? First of all, to have 4 women in 1 bed, that is not human life. That's trash life. That is immorality. That's like pornography and the filth of the immoral life of animals. Okay? But forget about that. To have sex with the other wives and the other slaves of your house, and your own wife is sleeping under the bed and she cannot have sex with you, that is abuse. Obviously, the third one, which is very important, scourge them. What is scourging? It is not light beating as Muslims claim. Let me tell you what Ibn Kathir said about the light beating. In his interpretation, Ibn Kathir, he said, the punishment should not cause broken bones, but should be light beating. The punishment should not cause broken bones, but should. So no blood, no shed of blood, as a Muslim scholar said, or no broken bones. Is this like? Does this sound to you like light beating, Saul? You beat your wife as long as you don't break her bones.
But there's a point behind it. The point behind it, of course, you mentioned Ibn Kathir. I would love to mention who's Ibn Kathir to our viewers. The point is, don't break her bones because you might have sex with her later that night. You can, yeah, because there's another interpretation that says beat the heck out of her,
yeah,
and even to change the color of her skin to blue or green, and keep a little bit of her. Then you can have sex with her later on that night if you want.
Exactly. And by the way, Muhammad also taught us a very good wisdom about a man beating his wife. Omar took his wife and beat her. And then he said to Aisha, memorize 3 things from me, which I memorized from the Prophet. Muhammad, the noble example, taught Omar this fact, which is what? He said, the man is not to be asked why he beat his wives. That's one of the other 3 things. We're not going to talk about the other 3 things. So if you live in a tent in Muhammad days, Saul, there's no voice. You cannot stop the voice to move from one tent to another tent. You know what I'm saying? But even if you live in the old homes, if the people have homes, you can easily hear what's going on next door. Okay, it's not like soundproof homes. They did not know soundproof in Muhammad days. So here we are. I'm beating my wife. Okay, last night I was beating my wife, Vicky, and I beat the daylight out of her, and she was screaming, "Enough, baby! Don't beat me again, please!" And she's screaming. I'm beating her. Then you heard her screaming. Then don't you dare, Saul, in the following day in the morning, you come by to have a cup of coffee with me and say, "Hey, brother Usama, last night I heard you beating your wife. Why you were beating your wife, man? No, that's not nice." Muhammad said, don't do that. So every man can beat his wife and nobody asks, why did you beat your wife? I think that's a very good moral lesson we'll learn from Prophet Muhammad, peace be on him. It must be nice. Anyway, we have so many examples about beating. God help us. Here's a good reason why Muslim women should be living in obedience. In Sahih Bukhari, hadith number 3237. Muhammad said, if a man called his wife to his bed, and she refuses, and he goes to bed angry, the angels of Allah will curse her until morning. So, ladies, if your husband said, come to bed to have sex, says, yes, sir, because if he go to bed upset, the angels of Allah, see, Allah have his angels do nothing all night long but to curse women who refuse for their husband to have sex with them. I do not know Allah and His angels. They have nothing to do but involve in men's sex life. Anyway, the punishment is a great tool. Professor Ahmed Shalabi said it's actually good for the woman the husband beat her, because that make a good woman out of her. I love how Muhammad asked his son by adoption to literally torn a woman to two halves. That is Kurfa, because she wrote poetry against Muhammad. So can you imagine how merciful Muhammad was, that he tied a woman to two separate camels and forced the two camels to go in two separate places, cutting a woman to half. And her crime was simply she wrote a poetry to expose what Muhammad was all about. I love it when Dr. Ruqayya said, finally, in the end of her lies, and these are the lies which Muslims teach all over America, all over England, all over the West. Finally, there is the issue of giving witness. Though the Quran says nothing explicit. Excuse me? She said, the Quran said nothing explicit about women to be half of a man. Her witness is half of a man. We already read you the hadith. Muhammad said, because you're stupid, therefore your witness is equal to half of a man. And the Ruqayya Abdul Maqsood, maybe she forgot to read that found verse from the Quran. That is Quran 2 and verse 282. Here's what Allah said in the Quran, which Muslims deny that it exists in the Quran. 2, the book of Baqarah, the book of Cow, and verse 282. So if the debtor was mentally deficient or weak, physically, mentally, or cannot dictate, so let his friends dictate with fairness and call to witnesses from your men. So a man is getting old, mentally he's losing his mind, Alzheimer's disease, and he needs to write a will for the future of his money. If he die, how the money will be given. Allah said he get 2 men to bear witness that will. So if there were not 2 men, so 1 man and 2 women of those among whom you are pleased for witnesses. Why is that? Why we need 1 man and 2 women? He said, so that if one of them should make an error, so the other may cause her to remember. Because women forget. Because women are stupid, Brother Saul. You need 2 of them. Do you know that psychologically, scientifically, medically, now we know for certain that women remember much better than men? So if that's the case, you should have 1 man, you should have 2 women as witness, or 1 woman and 10 men to help each other to remember. I'm going to tell a story. It's a true story, and I have used it many times in the past. We used to have business, me and my beloved wife, where we do window treatments and drapery and stuff like that, decorative stuff for homes. And I will be in shopping, and Vicky will call me on my phone. Hey, where are you at, Usama? And I say, I am here. There. Can you swing by Home Depot and buy me some boards, 3 inches, 4 inches, different lengths, and some screws and some angles, the stuff she used for her business. Sure, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, 3 boards, 3 inches wide and 6 feet long, 2 boards and the screws and the hinges and all this stuff in my mind, And I go home thinking that I'm going to make my wife happy because I got everything she wants exactly. And then she looked at me and she said, where is the milk? I said, milk? What milk? And she said, and you didn't get the cheese either and the bread. I said, honey, he did not mention to me anything of milk and cheese and bread. And I can swear that, I don't swear, but I can swear by Allah, like Muslims say, that I never heard her say anything. You know why? I found out why. Because we men have 2 different places in our head. This part here and this part here. This is the business part. It is the life and family and food part. So when my wife, she was talking to me about screws and wood and all the stuff she needs for her business is here. I was listening with this side, not the emotion, the logical, the second half. Men can only use one part of their brain at the time. The emotion or the logical stuff. Women use both sides of the brain at the same time. They go like that. They go like that. I mean, literally. So when she told me about the stuff she won from Home Depot, that's all what I got in my head. Home Depot stuff, food and stuff. Walmart it was not registered. And you know what's so amazing? Her mama will bear witness that yes, Usama, she told you she needed a gallon of milk, cheese, and bread, whatever she said from Walmart, which obviously it did not register in my head. And that is the difference between men and women. We do not remember because we only use one half of our brain at the time. Ask any psychologist, it will tell you that this is true. I have one last thing to share, and then if you have any question, Brother Saul, I would love to hear from you. How about hell? How about hell? Now, woman
Actually,
died.
that's my last question. Actually, you covered everything. Okay, let's do it this way. Before you answer, thank you for sorry to cut you off. But we always hear like the men get 72 virgins, rivers of wine and honey and whatever. What's for women in heaven?
Hell is for women. That's exactly what it is. That's what Muhammad said in Kunuz al-Ulum 22:10. He said, one woman of 99 women is in heaven and the rest of them in hell, fire. Muhammad also said in Hadith al-Bukhari, Hadith number 5251, 5251, Muhammad said, as I stood by the gate of hell, I saw that most of those who enter the gates are women. My friends, it is an ugly reality. Muslim ladies live on earth in hell, and when they die, they also go to hell. I did not talk about circumcision because I believe that's very important, and I want to close with it unless you have something else you want to talk about, Brother Saul. In America, I'm amazed that when Mr. Trump and the people under him arrested 3 people of practicing that evil act, a doctor and an assistant and another lady who practiced that evil act of circumcision of female, and we thought, hey, this was only a few cases here and there and it's over now, everything is fine. But what the American people do not understand, that circumcision is Islam. Female circumcision is Islam. Muhammad bragged about the mother of the Arab that she was circumcised by Sarah. That is Hagar, which is not true at all. I don't believe Ishmael and Hagar have anything to do with Arab, but that's for another topic, for another day. So circumcision of female is Islam. And I was amazed when this arrest took place, quickly, the rest of the Muslim in America rejected circumcision of the female, and they condemn it, and they said this have nothing to do with Islam. But I'm shocked, Saul. The same Muslims who rejected the circumcision of females in America are the same Muslims who convinced our politician in Michigan to allow Muslims to practice the circumcision of the female. Does American people have any common sense? Are we really that stupid? Are we really that dude? How, excuse me, how in the world you tell me that Islam does not allow female circumcision, but at the same time, now we convinced our legislators in Michigan to allow the circumcision of the female? Somebody help. And I need you, so help me out. How can I put these two together? Islam rejects the circumcision of the females. Muslims condemn it 100%. It is a barbaric act, have nothing to do with Islam. But at the same time, now in Michigan, it is legal for Muslim men to circumcise their female children because our legislator, the American legislators, said it's okay. After they were convinced by the Muslims of Michigan. Help me out here, brother. Tell me.
I can't help it. It's absolutely bullshit. This is sickness. Are you serious? Is it legal now?
It is legal in the state of Michigan. You go online right now, so go online right now. I would love for your audience, somebody to write me, usama@thestraightway.org.
Usama, the Islamic gymnastic, how they play. When they are minority, they deny everything. They don't show that dark of Islam. But when they become majority, then the crap will happen. They will show up what they want. And then when, as we said, usually you and me always say, when it goes when the Islamic population become majority, and majority in Islam, not 51%. It's about 9-10%.
I don't think even 9. I go
No,
for 5 and a
I
half.
honestly agree with you. But when you see the riots and stuff like Paris now, when they burn the entire city, they are less than 10. No, actually, they are 20% now. But what I mean is,
Go to Europe. Okay, the best way to measure the percentage of what is the majority in Islam, go to Europe and see what happened to the Muslims when they reach 5.5%. They have full control of their own community. Sharia, the law of Sharia is what is practiced in their community. The no-go zone is in the community. 5.5%. It's a fact. I can't help it.
You just mentioned the clear way of deception, what you call taqiyya, kitman, kidb. The real deception. When they minority, they denied it. When they become majority now, oh, that we need it. And actually, 2 doctors. I think they've been acquitted, right? The 2 doctors who practice it in Michigan. Yeah, it's shame. It's BS, seriously. But also when they said it's not Islamic, we have hadith when Muhammad told the lady who practiced, it's like a nurse, practiced the circumcision at that time. And because, he said there are 5 things you need to do as Muslim, a man and woman, to cut the nails and to shave the mustache and pull the armpit hair and all these things. And one of them is to cut the clitoris. But he was telling her not to go so deep, not because the women hurt the woman, so the man can enjoy some of her. Do you understand what my point? Do you have that hadith with you, or
not on me right now? But I can get it to you later. Sure.
Hey,
before I forget, there's a good video. We talk about this in the see. I do ministry in churches. I don't do like what you and I do right now. Yeah. And these things I could not go in it in details in church. I just talk about. But
I think you need to go in details, Osama.
I can't, because the pastors in the church will not allow me to do that, because we have little children, we have little girls in the church. I cannot. It's a different circumstance. I can't.
If I have a little daughter and I don't know about these practices,
okay, you don't want. But at the same time, in a church
as my pastor, I want you to show me the truth.
Okay. That's one thing. But in a church setting, when you have little children sitting in a meeting next to their mom and dad and their brothers and their friends, and you talk about these things openly, it's not appropriate in America. It is not. It's a fact. It's not. I will not
do another session just for adults.
Maybe if I have only adult. Yeah, if I have an adult. But there's a good video. I'm gonna advise your people to go online. David Wood and female circumcision. Go online and watch that video. David Wood go in details. He spent a good 15 minutes to talk about it.
Actually, I'm gonna put the link and
put the links for it. That'll be awesome. All right, I think I covered enough material for today. And if you have any question, does your people write you question on live or no?
More than enough, actually. We were supposed to say an hour. I don't know. We're almost 2 hours now. But no, thank you so much.
It's my joy.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna give you the last word, but. As I said, we both born in Middle East. We both born under Islamic laws, and I gotta admit, whatever Osama says is 110% truth, absolutely truth. But when you live it, it's way horrible when we talk about it. And the reason we're doing this, because I left like 3 decades ago. Osama, almost 3 decades, right? We left Middle East, and the problem is we see it coming to the freest country on earth. They come in here and deceiving my people, Americans, about all that crap they have here in this cult. But I want to say the last thing, and then Osama say the last word. I want to say this: the worst thing could happen to a human is to born as a female in a Muslim country. The worst thing. If I born a female, I would definitely finish my life the day I know I'm a female. It is the most horrible way ever. You're a slave. It's garbage life. So the worst thing happened to a human, to a human, is to live, to born under Islamic Sharia law as a female. Thank you all for listening. The last word to my brother Osama. Thank you so much, Osama.
Sure.
Everything.
Thank you. First of all, I would love to let all the Muslim ladies out there, once again, as we said in the beginning of our study, that if your husband does not treat you as Allah taught him to do, that does not make Islam good. That make your husband not a good Muslim man. If you are not treated with the teaching according to the word of Allah and the command of Muhammad, you have been blessed. But that does not make you in the right face on the right religion. Because sadly, this is a good excuse people will use. Say, well, my husband never beat me. Well, my husband never did this to me, and my daddy loved me. And no, this is all hogwash. That's not Islam. Number two, we want you Muslim people to know the truth about Islam, to free yourself from that savage cult. My advice to all your audience, please go to my website, thestraightway.org. Thestraightway.org. If you can type it down for them, it will be awesome. And get yourself a copy of our Quran. Read the Quran. Study the Quran. And by the way,
Osama, tell us about your Quran, man. We forgot to mention it. I need to actually advertise for Quran. The most accurate translation is Osama's translation. If you find a Quran in the mosque in America or Canada, that's a cheating, lying Quran. You need to get Osama's Quran, which is called the Generous Quran. Please tell people about your book and where they can find it.
Sure. The Generous Quran, it took me 4 years to translate it with the help of 50 people. So it's not just Osama Dagdak's work. Lots of people work hard to get this project out. After 4 years, we have the only true, accurate, modern English translation. And we have almost 100 pages extra material in the Quran, which will help you to understand some of the errors, some of the contradictions of the Quran. Muslims or the Quran claim it is pure Arabic. No, it is not pure Arabic. We have 279 words in the Quran, non-Arabic words. I'm talking about Hebrew, Greek, Pharisee, Latin, Coptic, lots of languages. And I show you in my bold statement some of the facts in the verses so I can capture attention. And also I show you the contradiction between the Quran and other passages in the Quran so we can it's a good study guide, not very deep, it's just soft. Now, if you want to learn more about the nonsense of the Quran and the errors of the Quran, we got 2-volume books. It's called Revealing the Truth About the Quran, The Revelation of Error. The Revelation of Error. Volume 1 and Volume 2, where I go through all the stories which Muhammad put in the Quran, copied from the Bible or copied from other books, which is not actually accurate stories, and Muhammad saw they are accurate because he heard them. So this is a very important volume. Books of almost 800 pages will help you to understand some of the errors of the Quran concerning the stories of the prophets. Next week I have a brand new book coming out. It's called Exposing the Truth About Jihad, Volume 1, Holy War in the Bible. And sometime in around next Christmas, if the Lord's willing, we're going to have Volume 2, which is Unholy War in the Quran. So these are our books. And also, this presentation we did today, you can have it in detail in DVD. It's called Women in Islam. We got plenty of DVDs on our website. You can go and get them some for yourself. And my point is this: when you get these materials, you educate yourself, buy it, and then share it with others. Teach others. As me and Saul spent these 2 hours with you to teach you about the topic, there's millions of people like you who did not know, or maybe know a little bit about Islam, but they did not know how bad it is. They need to know from you. So you spread the word. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. The America, the beautiful country we have, it will be destroyed because the American people did not have this knowledge which me and Brother Saul are sharing with you. Brother Saul, thanks again. My website is thestraightway.org. Thestraightway.org. At least get yourself a copy of the Quran. And by the way, these books are available as ebooks. It's cheaper, faster to get. You just download it and you already have it on your computer, and you can download it on your iPhone, iPad, your computer, desktop, whatever, and you can download it many times for the same price. It's cheap, like $10. You can have a book. So it's not about making money. It's about getting the information out, which we all need to save ourselves and the Muslim people selves. Because believe me, Muslims are victim number 1 of the cult of Islam, and sadly, the rest of the world will be victim number 2. Once again, Brother Saul, thank you so much. It was my pleasure and my joy to be with you, and I look forward to come back again for another topic, for another day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And I gotta assure this: yes, we love you, Muslims. We know you are the very first victims of Islam. and we are here to help you. Please reach out. By the way, if you agree with us or not, please write in the comment. You can debate us. We have so many ex-Muslims here with us, and so knowledgeable people. We have a hadith shaitaniya, satanic verses. We have satanic shows every day on this channel. If you want to share your views with us, you're welcome. You'll be guest 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. You are very welcome. We just want to we want to live in peace, enjoy our life, and peace and harmony with everyone. Osama, thank you so much. By the way, the straightway.com.org right behind him is written right there 20,000 times on his background. So,
oh yeah,
here we go. Let's put the.
It is. Yeah. You can't miss it. You can't miss it. Thank you so much. God bless you, brother.
Thank you all. God bless you all. Thank you, Osama. We'll see you soon. You have a great weekend all.
Bye-bye.